Alright, what's up? I'm back at home and I'm gonna be reacting to this ranting about the state of Smite 2 right now from Intersect. I implore you to go watch the video first before watching my reaction, because I think he deserves it. I think he does really well with his videos. But let's just get into it. Um Obviously he's just gonna be mainly ranting about what's going on. If you want to know my thoughts on the patch so far, I think the patch is not perfect, obviously. Major changes rarely comes with perfection, very rarely. But I think overall, I think it's a decent spot right now, at least for how damage dealer builds are feeling. I feel like there could probably be a little bit less, more pin spread around. I don't think they necessarily need it all to be in one item or two items, XC, and then Obshard, and the equivalent on the other side for magicals. But I do think it's a lot better than having it spread around so much that you kind of needed every one of your slots to be almost dedicated pin, especially if you were an assassin. You needed Crusher, you needed Hydras, you needed Titan's Bane to just feel like you're doing damage to tanks. And just in general, because those items are just so good broadly. And I think now there's a lot more build versatility and variety, I mean. And I think it's just a lot better now than it was 2 weeks ago, right? Just because you actually have choices to make. That's crazy to me. That's just it. I can understand where he's coming from as a tank player because it's too much pin in one item, but I'm very surprised that he actually said that. I was not expecting him to be of the opinion that um that he likes it that way. Oh, he can't go up higher. I thought it'd be at least 140p. Um, I I can agree that it's a good thing that is more condensed, but I just don't think it should be that condensed into one item. I think you should actually have to be able to spec into dealing damage to tanks, not if you want to deal damage to tanks, you get this item. Just a flat out, you should have to be like at least like 3 items deep before you're like actually like, oh, I feel like I am a tank shredder, and if a tank steps up to me, they're going to die. And that's why I think on pin items you should be getting next to no power, so against squishies, you're not doing as much and they will run you over. But against tanks, you're going to do a lot better just because you have percent pin. I think that's the ideal way to me to balance it. I don't think it was a reason why like some pin items had 40 power or 35 power. I think it should be literally like you're getting 15, 25 power because you should have to spec heavily into killing tanks. It shouldn't just be a baseline good item like Heartseeker. It's just baseline good. Um, yeah, I can agree with that. Crit is really good. But I'm fairly sure they're gonna nerf that down. I don't think that's something that they're going to let stay. I don't know why they didn't already nerf it. Like it's some things that they can just tell is going to be a problem. Like Rage having 50% crit on one item. Or actually I thought it was 40. I didn't think it was 50, but if it is 50, then yeah, that's obviously a problem. Oh yeah, no, it is because Rage plus Death Ring gives you 70. So yeah, they probably do need to like make it down to like 45 or just make it longer to stack, like 6 stacks or something like that. So like if you really want to be powerful, you can. I think that way is a little bit better, so you feel more accomplished and you have something that you're actually like building towards, and you can be powerful if you get all the stacks. I think that would be interesting. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I think buffing that was a pretty bad idea. Yeah.
get it. They wanted to keep Tulsa and XE in line with Titans and Shard in terms of the amount of pen they offer, but I would have liked it to at least have seen a cost increase or stat reduction to XE in trade for that increased pen. It's by far
Yeah, I think
the
that'll be a good
most
change.
pen bond item in the game and easily could have gone up in price or lost some strength and end on gold in trade for this percent pen buff. By the way, I know it's percent shred, which is better than percent pen, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to refer to both types as percent pen in this video. On that topic, ADCs also have the option of going both Executioner and Titans Bane for an effective pen value of 54.5% in two items, which is somewhat ridiculous. Though honestly,
I agree.
necessary on the current patch because protections are so hard to come by in tank builds that you probably won't ever need to invest in that much pen. Most core tanks are either building full damage or full health on this patch because half their item pool has
That's a little over exaggeration. It's a little over exaggeration. You definitely can still get up to like 250 prots with a normal pin or tank build.
To invest into a king size or soul reaper instead of XE or sound in that case. However, it really just seems like they didn't think this passed through at all in regards to the health base. King size and soul reaper were balanced around the previous meta and game state, where tanks would only achieve around 3.5k max health.
They were not balanced around that. They were definitely more balanced around this. They were terrible last patch.
We've already seen plenty of clips of soul reaper doing 2k plus damage and 1k plus HP building a health build, and king size doing 400 plus per hit. So where does that leave tanks?
Once again, that's kind of the point of it. I feel like, as if like it would be one thing if you would build prots. Like the whole point is you counter build the other side, and maybe it's a little bit too strong, but most of the builds that you're going are relatively the same as the last patch. You're still building your glad shields. You're still building your um berserkers if you're a auto tech scaler. You're still building your phoenix shield. Like your builds didn't change that much. You're still building high the Nemean lion. So I guess it's going to just be stronger, but it was already pretty bad last patch to where no one was going it, and if they were going it, it was kind of troll because you're not doing any damage to Squishy. So I think fundamentally, to me at least, I think Kins and Soul Reaver are in a good place at least. Maybe tone it down. You can tone it down a little bit because it might, but even then, if you tone it down a little bit, then is it worth going? Because you're not doing damage to squishies. Like the only stats against squishies that Kins is giving you is the attack speed and the power, and that's like what 20 power or 25 power and 20 attack speed, if even that much attack speed. So it feels as if it's kind of a bad item if you're not going against hyper tanks and not just focusing tanks. So I think it's fine.
The new health setting builds are interesting, but king size and reaper were not balanced around these kinds of builds and completely
Once
shut
again,
down.
you just should not be going pure health. Like I don't know what health build he's talking about because I'm not a tank player. I'm a jungle player. So I just don't know exactly what kind of health builds he's talking about. Now if he gave an example like, but if you're just going straight health like Leviathan's Hide, Yogi's Necklace, Gauntlet of Thebes, yeah, you're going to get shredded because you're building more into health than to prots. That's the whole point of these items being strong against that.
Which is exactly what we're seeing. After playing a few days on this patch, probably a dozen ranked games in total or so, I think I've seen one full tank solo that wasn't beaten that whole period. Everything else was either Hades, full damage intelligence plan U, or base solos like Torrigan.
Well, I think once again, that's just because people like more damaging roles. I think that's just been very apparent why one bruisers have all or soul lanes have always just built bruiser. It's unless the meta is specifically a heavy tank meta, you will always get more bruisers, even if both are completely balanced against each other. You're always just going to get more bruisers because one, that's their general playstyle as a soul lane. Now, if you're a guardian, you don't build as bruiser. And when I was playing, most of the tanks I saw were building full defense. Sobek's full defense. Mordred's, like he gets his Phoenix Feather, his Glad Shield, but besides that, mostly defense. So I wouldn't really count that as bruiser.
Definitely been less of an effect over that than there has been in solo. Perhaps due to them building more utility active items and got their themes. I don't really know what they expected to happen when every valuable build path in the game to be tanky is built in 3 patches in a row and items like Reaper and King size.
But once again, tanks even now are still very strong. Like Sobek's, I think the problem with tanks always in general has not really been the item pool. I think it has always been the character design. Oh my gosh, that was a bless you. I think it's always just been the character design. Like, look at Guan Yu right now. He does way too much damage. He's a new character, so it's not really fair to say. But the attacks we build on him, even if you build him full damage, he is ridiculous with how much damage he will do to you. I think I literally went like 11 and 0 or 11 and 2 in a game because he is that broken. But he's a new god, so exclude him from the deception. Sobek has been meta almost since he's came out in Smite 2. Wasn't he a release god? No, he wasn't released. But literally since he came out, he has been meta. And that's kind of always been Sobek, but even in Smite 1, there was metas where he was not strong enough because if he plucked, he just died. Or if you miss pluck, you're guaranteed dead. But now it feels like you can even miss your pluck and be very out of position and still get away because you're going to use your 3, you're going to get a little bit of heal, you're going to do a little bit of damage, and you're going to ult. And then your ult is you're either going to get out or you're going to kill someone with the execute. Like, I think how tanky he can be is a problem. I think Achilles, with how tanky he can be, he's a problem, especially with execute. Especially the procs that he gets from his 2. Have you seen the build of going berserkers and a whole bunch of pro items? I'm pretty sure he breaks the cap like he could in with Smite 1. So just in general, I think it's mainly the fact that tanks are so strong. Mordred, he's also very strong. Having a ult up every 20 seconds in a fight is a little bit ridiculous, and you have your small ult up every 10 seconds. Right? I think it's just the fact that the tanks themselves are busted. It's rarely ever the items themselves that are really busted. It's always just the fact that they're built and how they are built. It's just to be a tanky damage dealer, and I think that A should probably tone that back a little bit. Because every other class is always about your items.
They said the OB9 will be a cleanup patch to fix any issues brought on by OB7 and OB8. There were issues brought on by OB7 and 8. The fact that building tanky was becoming useless, and even on those patches,
I do think in the past updates they did target the wrong tank items. I think tank items like um Shield Splitter, Mystical Mail were like heavy problems. Also a little bit of Glass Shield, but not as much. I think Glass Shield wasn't too much of a problem compared to like where I'm talking about the tanky junglers that were running around with Mystical Mail, Shield Splitter, Sunder. I think that was your problem items, not necessarily building tanky. I think building tankier honestly could be a little bit stronger if you're going full tank, but I don't think the solo lane version of a tank, as in Bruiser, Phoenix Feather, or Shield Feather, no, Phoenix Shield, Phoenix Feather, I don't think those should necessarily be as strong compared to like your Guardian build. I think could be strong. I'm fine with that. Also, hiding the enemy line is broken. I can agree. It didn't really feel like a. It didn't feel like a cleanup. It felt more like a item change.
As I said at the start of the video, this is probably the least fun I've ever had with Smite 2. It's not the worst day the game has been.
I would say this is probably the most fun I've had.
I genuinely think I was having more fun back then, even though the game was worse, just because it was novel and unique. This is really frustrating because if you watch my content,
That's a take.
you know I'm not a doomer on this stuff. I love the game, and the content and features they've been pumping out recently are absolutely amazing.
That's a crazy take.
I enjoy those features when the balance of the game is just so lopsided to where attack rolls feel so bad to play. You either build tank and get decimated, or build full damage and
I think this is just very. Maybe I'm crazy from the games I've played, because I build Titans every game. I think if you're not building Titans, you're trolling. But I think I don't know why. I feel as if it's a problem not with necessarily him or like just how he's building. I think he's probably building a fine build. Right, he's Masters level or Obsidian right now since reset. But I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but to me, I think it's mainly just a problem with the gods that you're playing. Like, he's playing Mortar right now, probably the third, fourth strongest tank, right? You have your Sobek, you have your Guan Yu, especially right now. You have your Achilles and you have Mordred. I think those are the top 4 tanks right now. You could probably sprinkle someone else in there, maybe a Ama, but she's probably better damage than full tank. Right, he's playing one of the top 4 tanks. It's insane how much work you can do as a tank. You know, going your typical Bruiser, your Phoenix Feather, Phoenix Shield, Highland E-Man Lying, Gladiator Shield, stuff like that. mix in a breastplate or two, something like that, you still do enough damage and you're tanky enough to take on backlines by yourself. Or, not just fully by yourself, but, like with a little bit of help from your team, but you're not just going to insta-die. Now, the carries, I think carry builds are very strong. I think people just aren't building to counter what is good. I think they just want to build what they want to build, but that's not the point of, to me, a soul laner. As a soul laner, you should just not be able to build whatever you want to build. I think 3 items should be whatever you want. You should have the luxury to build that. And then your other items should be counter items. Like if a carry is being strong, you need to build your Leviathan side. You need to build your higher than Anemia Lion. If he's showing me a build where he's not building higher than Anemia Lion, he's saying crit builds are too strong, I think you're lying to me. Because ADC will literally kill themselves before they kill you because hide is pre-mitigations and not post. Secondly, there's an anti-crit item. I don't think it's necessarily the strongest, but it will reduce their crit chance by, like, I think 25, or was it? So early on in the game, they will just not be critting if you build it early. And late into the game, they, instead of being at 100%, they're now at 25%. To me, I think people need to look at crit as bonus damage that you're doing. If you have 75% crit, you're doing 75% bonus damage to your auto attacks. More or less, that's how it works out over the long haul, if we were talking about just percentages in general. If they have Deathbringer, because I think crit and base is like 1 or 0.75 damage, not exactly double damage. And with Deathbringer, it's double damage. So if they have Deathbringer, what they're going to build, because you kind of need that for a crit build, because it gives you another 25 increased damage on your crits. Anyways, the whole point to say this is you can counter build what you're saying. There are very strong things about tank. High the Anemia Line is one of them. Phoenix Feather is also very strong right now. There's a lot of things you can do to counter what ADCs are doing, what junglers are doing.
They have said that tanks might be underperforming a bit, which you can either take at face value, or you can put on your tinfoil hat a little bit and question if tanks are actually terrible and they're just out saying that because
Holy fuck. Oh my, look at this, look at this, look at this damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 autos from Guan Yu ult, and he is dead at 75% HP. Oh my gosh, that is terrible design. It's no way they release this character like this. That's not even on him being bad. That's just on him, thinking that he had a chance. He should not have thought he had a chance against a Guan Yu. It did 1,000 damage, and mind you, he has 1,500 HP, almost 1,600. Wow. Obviously Guan Yu is freaking broken. I'm surprised Aladdin's doing that good. I don't think Aladdin's very good right now. I think it's just because only a few people are playing him. Actually, no, he's one of the most more played gods. Huh. That's kind of crazy to see. I really don't think he's good. Oh, this is most played. So, your S tiers are really good. Your C tiers are pretty bad. I agree with this. I agree Agni's really strong. I've been playing a lot of Agni Jungle. Agni Jungle, bomb. He is bomb. I've been getting him banned against me, which is crazy. Or maybe they're just banning him in general. That could be just be a general thing. On her, I agree strong. Merlin, I think, is a little bit weak because people play Aspect. I think Aspect Merlin is kind of bad late game, good early game. I'm so surprised Aladdin's that good. Neith, I thought Neith would be stronger. I think Neith is like one of the most annoying mid laners to play with, or against, I mean. Because as a jungler, she's actually harder to gank than you would think. Her root 3 combo is really strong. She can go over walls now in Smite 2, which is a lot stronger than her in Smite 1. So she's just a lot safer in general. You kind of need Blink, or at least 2 movement abilities to actually kill her, or like a really instant stun. I think Kali has a good matchup into her. But yeah, this is mostly what I expected. I thought Neef would be like A or S tier. I'm very surprised that Hades is S+. What? That's crazy. I knew Afro would probably be a little middling. I think she feels best when she's a little bit underperforming. Zeus being high up makes sense. Pos being high up, I'm actually surprised. I know a lot of people play Pos, but I didn't think he was honestly that good. I thought he was I think he's to me I think he's always kind of bad. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's I think it's a little disrespectful to say Hades is not a tank when that's kind of how he plays. Um, Same thing for Raw. You see a lot of Raw solos. Same thing for Thor. You see some Thor solos, mostly Thor solos. He didn't even put Sobek up there. What was his claim? Yeah, so let's not do that. That's one tank, uh, two sometimes tanks, three tanks, four tanks, five. Afro's played more of a tank. So where was I? One, two, three, four, five, six. This is just actual tank. Seven. She sometimes played in solo, but more as a damage dealer. So seven. Fenrir can be 50-50, so I'll be willing to say his more tank. So 7.5, I'll say. Blown as a tank. Most ones I've seen has been solo, so I don't know about the damage one. She'll go like a damage item first and then into tank items. So I think this is relatively probably representative. You have out of your top 30, you have about eight tanks about. It just makes more sense. There's more damage rolls than non-damage rolls. There's two tank rolls, so them taking up 8 makes a little bit of sense. They take up what, 2/5 of a thing, so 2/5 would be 20%. So I think that's about 20% of 80, 30. What that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't fully know. But yeah.
Somewhere around 40% of the most played gods to be tanks. However, currently that number is 10%.
Yeah, 40. I don't know why I said 20. It's definitely 40.
Generally played a little bit less than damage dealers, even when accounting for only being 2 of the 5 roles, but representing only
Yeah.
10% of the top 30 most played gods despite.
But once again, he's massively misrepresented. He didn't even include Sobek. Obviously, like, he's human. He makes mistakes when editing this, but also not to include Hades when Hades is more played as a tank than a damage dealer. Afro, same thing. If not 50-50. Thor, I've literally seen more Thor solos than Thor jungles, but also I do ban Thor a lot, so and he's one of the higher picks in the game, or ban gods in the game. I don't even think Balonus is more damage to me personally. Not calling out Raw as being a hybrid, sometimes Finn being a hybrid. I think these are just a little bit disingenuous. Also, sometimes you do see a Cupid support every now and again. So I think this is a little bit disingenuous. That's all. Wow, New is low in play. I thought they said she's like one of the most popular characters. Oh, I think this is actually for Master Plus. I'm surprised Pele's that low. I've been seeing Pele a lot more recently when I don't play her.
In the top 50% of play rates and 16 in the bottom 50%, something is wrong there. Even when accounting for tanks generally having lower play rates than damage dealers. To be clear, I'm not saying tanks in the
Interesting.
Specific tank gods were overperforming. However, it was mostly bruisers that were running the game, not full tanks. And just blanket.
Wait a minute, let me look at this again. I'm not going as long as a rant as I did last time, but Yamoja just in general has a low play rate because she's a harder character for people. Hercules, I'm surprised is that low. Ares, I'm surprised is that low. Amma makes sense for me. Odin makes sense. Achilles, I'm very surprised. But also I think I've seen quite a few Achilles bans. I've seen quite a few Mordred bans. I don't think I've seen any other tanks banned. Yeah. I'm surprised Kraken's that low. Yeah, I'm surprised a lot of these people are that low, especially Ymir too. Mulan makes sense. I can agree. I think they also nerfed pro items or damage items.
between this previous state and this current state. If you just nerf that shared action pool, tanks will become unplayable by the time bruisers are balanced. And if you
I
don't
agree.
nerf that shared action pool, bruisers will become OP by the time tanks are balanced. They need a way of balancing the two separately. Be that a mitigation flaw, like I've suggested before, where there are flaws that, for example, 200 protections, 300, 400, and so on, where you get 5%, 10%, 50%.
I think this is really a good idea that he has. It also stops like a Merlin from going breastplate and being tanky.
Bruisers shouldn't ever exist. They are not a playstyle that's the game, in my opinion, but they can't be balanced by the same balance changes that tanks are balanced by. Otherwise, it just results
I agree with this, yeah.
I also just think they went way too fast with these changes, and that's what's caused most of the issues. I get that they're trying to move quickly with the game.
No, I think moving faster is better. You're gonna learn more.
I think moving so quickly on sweeping balance decisions is a bad idea. Doing blanket nerfs, waiting 2 weeks, doing it again, waiting another 2 weeks, doing it again is always going to result in bad outcomes that need to.
Personally, I think the state of the game is a little bit better now than it was previously, but that's just me. He's dead. He's so dead. Oh, he's taking so much damage. Also, this is not tanks are bad, it's that he has no magical prots. Maybe Aladdin. I might play some more Aladdin. I think he is almost deity for me, or diamond. So I might actually play him after this. I see, I got a good game with Aladdin yesterday.
I do mention when other roles are trash, like how mages were close to unplayable outside of a specific queue for quite a while, but I rarely make a dedicated video calling out that stuff, which maybe I should, but since I don't play those roles very often, I feel like I have less depth and nuance to offer compared to when I talk about tank issues, which I'm intimately more familiar on many different levels.
No, that's true. Is he dead? Oh, thought that Cube was about to die. You might actually get all off this totem. Yeah, he got all off the totem. Oh, you got juked! Oh, he sold so hard. Sorry, I was just really interested in that fight. I agree with like a lot of things he's saying. I think in general he is a little bit right. I think he wants to go a little bit too hammy-slammy on buffing up tanks. Because when you say tanks, people are also going to lump in bruisers with them just naturally, because anyone that is tankier than average is going to be lumped in with a tank. Now we're talking about a pure tank build and bruiser build. I do think bruiser is mainly the problem, not the tank build. You know, I think in general, I think just tanks and their gods, not, you know, the class, but the god tanks are mainly the problem. Like your Sobex, your Mordreds. Even though apparently Mordred is bad right now. He was a C tier. Your Mordred, your Guan Yus, your Achilles, I think they are very strong right now. Could be a little bit toned down. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, that's in the video. All right. But yeah, just overall, I do agree with some of his points. The main point I do agree with is that we need a rebalancing of the health prot system. I think it should not. I think it's fine to have a hyperbolic scaling prot system. The more you have, the less you get in terms of mitigations that you do. But I do think they need to buff up the higher tiers. Like if you go higher and higher, you should get tankier. That just makes sense naturally for you to get tankier. And how they should do that is by giving you at break points a certain amount of mitigation, so you are tanky. Like no matter what that person is doing, you just are going to be tanky. Because then it incentivizes you to go a lot more straight up tank builds. Because right now it feels weird to go full tank build. I think it's always been felt weird to go full tank build, because you have to kind of balance that point of how many protections is it to be valuable, and then how much of the rest should be health. I think that's always been a problem with Smite. You just want to go prots is always just better early. I think that's fine. But then once you're like 4 items deep, and you're like, okay, I really should just be buying health at this point. That's why I'm very surprised Yogi Necklace is not just better. Because instead of getting another 200, you know, or 20 prots, you're getting another 200 health. I've always thought that was just better, even before now, and also gives you a little bit of healing. And it's very cheap. I don't know. But I think that's just always been a problem with tank builds. Okay, well, I'll catch you later. Thank you for tuning in.